Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Core Outdoors Speaker Series. I'm your host, adventure journalist Jamie Moy. Core Outdoors is a collective of gear designers, makers, repair technicians, and manufacturers based here in the mountainous Kootenay region of British Columbia, Canada. Core produces this free webinar every month to build relationships and share knowledge. For May, I'm delighted to be joined by Andrew Zoe, an award-winning packaging designer and structural engineer. He's joining us from Vancouver. Andrew, welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Let's have you go ahead and share your screen. The floor is yours.
Okay. Um, I'm assuming everybody can see this. This is a Q&A type of presentation. So I will go through some of the questions that I think applies to packaging design and things that I have heard from different clients of mine. Um, some background about myself. I am a packaging designer. I work a lot with a lot of apparel brands because Vancouver has a lot of apparel brands like Aritzia, MEC, Saks. I did a lot of their revamps. So I'll be using some of them as examples throughout the Q&As if they apply. And these are some of the questions that I usually get from my clients or people that are interested in design. Um, I believe Jamie have also mentioned, forwarded some of these questions to me that someone had asked, so I'll include them. I'll go through them one by one. There's the design portion and there's the development portion. Um, we don't need to go through all of them. If you have questions that is related to what I'm talking about, feel free to ask right away.
I'm
I
going to
don't
jump
think,
in here for a second, Andrew. Thank you for that. And just to reiterate, folks, we definitely want questions as you go. So feel free to just type them in. We have a Q&A function enabled, and you type them in, and then I will go ahead and post them to Andrew as
yeah.
they come. I don't know, though, Andrew. I feel like you were a little bit modest with your background. You you've worked for so many awesome brands and you've won awards and your design's been published in so many magazines. So I just wanted to take a minute to toot your horn a little bit.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so I will jump right in then. Um, the first question, I think this one was forwarded to me. Hanging versus sitting in a retail space. I would say there's a few different things you need to think about. Um, you want the option that has the most visual impact. So this means that it is easy to find, it is easy to understand your product, and that it looks good. Um, I found that in a lot of cases, um, unless you have a custom fixture, sometimes hanging, especially if your product is light enough to be hung, hanging usually is the better option. Some retailers also request that you hang them. Some retailers want you to put them on shelves. And so, for example, like Saks, they have the option to sit as well as to hang. And I think ideally, this is what you should be looking for is like it can accommodate various types of scenarios. Um, and when I'm talking about how does it look like visually? It should look clean. So like the socks from Uniqlo, you can right away see what I'm getting. I don't need to pick through a lot of them to find the right one. Same thing with icebreaker. You can tell right away, oh, what color, what's the size. They have a custom fixture and they're able to do this where everything is not hung, everything is slotted in. So this is what you're looking for. On to the next one. How much product visibility should you design for? Um, I find that you want to use the window whenever you can. The window help people understand immediately what they are buying. Obviously, there are some instances where you can't include a window. In those scenarios, then you want to use a photograph of your product. So example here is on the left, you see the Super Puff AirPod. Um, we used two windows here. So the window, you can tell right away what color, and you can also touch the product. The texture of the product was very important to the customers. And then on the side of the box, we also open another window. Mm, one of the reasons I think it's very important that people see the texture and they can see, oh, how thick is this lanyard? It includes a lanyard for this AirPod case. And if it didn't have a window, then you kind of have to read on the packaging to find out, oh, it includes a lanyard. But with a window, then you right away as you pick it up, you know, oh, okay, it has these two different things. And you can also see what kind of lanyard is included. And then for the Babatons, they're tights. Um, they can't open a window because it's a very delicate material. So then we included a photograph to depict how it looks on body as well as the color. So this is how typically how I have done it when there are no windows that I can use. I think this is also forwarded from someone. Someone had asked this question about combining shipping uh, and retail packaging. I would say in the outdoor industry, it is okay to combine it, um, unless the consumer expect that the product itself comes its own packaging. So an example could be, let's say it's a smartwatch. You wouldn't combine the shipping box. You wouldn't do just one shipping box, and then as you open it, this few $100 device comes with just cardboard. There should be an unboxing experience. Um, so depending on if your customer is not expecting it to come with its own packaging, I say in the outdoor industry, it's generally okay. Um, an example is this is not outdoors. They are a supplement company, and this is their shipping packaging, and this is mainly what they would use. Um, so if you got a few different products, they would ship in the box. If it's just one, then they would put it in this bubble mailer. I think both of these options look pretty nice. Um, another type is you have the shipping packaging as the retail packaging as well. So on the outside, it looks very basic, but then when you open it, this is for a pickleball racket. And when you open it, then there's that unboxing experience. Um, but a note is, I'm assuming the person asking this question is because they want to save money because two different packaging, two additional costs. Um, I would say this type of algicals, this is very cheap, relatively. And this type where you have customization, there is a special shape. This would cost much more, and sometimes you wouldn't save as much money per se. I guess you're still getting one packaging, so maybe that does save you money. Um, but yeah, customization in shipping packaging can also be pricey as well. Another note is you see a lot of packaging, shipping packaging like this, where it's just the cardboard box and they have the logo on there. And I find that the simpler the graphics, then the more important the branding is. So look at this one, the LG Cal one. Very simple. It's just a print and their logo. However, it's well designed. Their logo is well designed. The color choice is good. So everything looks very, very good. For these types of non-printed, just a white logo on the box itself, I would say the logo then becomes the focal point, and the logo, if the logo is well designed, it can look very premium as well. So there are definitely ways to do this well. This is a new trend for all. different industries, what is the current expectation on sustainability? I would say sustainability is very important to consumers. Um, I would say the death sentence is definitely styrofoam. So if you are not packaging TV, if you're not packaging something extremely heavy, you do not want to use styrofoam because everybody knows that this is not a very sustainable material. Um, One other thing I have noticed is that people, consumers want to see less and less plastics. So I would say like 10, 15 years ago, blister packs, those mm, kind of like clamshell plastic packaging you can kind of see often. And then these days you barely see these unless you're buying something that is super cheap. So that's definitely gone and you see more and more paper-based packaging. Outside of plastics though, I do also find that consumers want to see just the right amount of packaging. You don't want excess. There are definitely some industries that it is okay. So, for example, the luxury industry, it's box within a box, and maybe there's even a bag. But then I would say most other industries, if after you have opened it, and then there's just a lot of material left over. Um, I think you people are concerned about this, and people will be wondering why is there so much material? So talking about plastics, are there ways we can eliminate plastics? And there are definitely some ways you can use paper to do that. Um, so we talked about hanging hooks. Hooks is definitely something you could do that, especially if your product is pretty light. And so this paper hook, this type of material is called gray board. Um, it's pretty thick and it's pretty strong, and you see quite a bit of it around already, especially with this is, I believe, this is a pair of gloves. Um, this could be a great way to eliminate plastic for plastic hooks. This is another product that I was working on, and you can kind of also start to see this trend where if there's a large window in the past, there's always a plastic cover on the window, and people are starting to take out this plastic sheet. And so we did the same thing here for the phone case. And then we found that this phone case is pretty robust. You wouldn't really leave marks on it during transit. And so we thought, why would we include an additional cover on it? And then this way you can also actually touch the product without opening it. This is another rebrand that I did, refresh for packaging I did for Race Face. Um, Similarly to a hook design, but then in this case, how we strengthen this paper is by laminating uh, papers together to make it strong. And then there's some clever engineering to make sure that it wouldn't break as easily. Um, and so there are definitely ways through paper engineering, through packaging design, you can eliminate plastic. Okay, so this is a something that I noticed, especially with the outdoor industry, is that you want to reinforce the packaging for the retail floor because people want to touch, people want to try them on. And a lot of the times during this phase of trying it on, the packaging breaks. And how do we reinforce that? So this is a Sax base layer. Um, we have found that their customers always want to open their boxes. And so on the edges of the boxes, we actually double walled it so that it makes it stronger that over time as people open and close, it wouldn't break as easily. This is another box. This image didn't show up as well. This left one, this is what a box would look like. There's different flaps that opens. Um, However, for this particular packaging, it's a pretty big box and it's pretty heavy. And if you open it, it becomes extremely flimsy. So what you can do is you can actually, what we did here is we attach the flaps together. So as you open it, the box does not collapse. So that's another way to accommodate for structural integrity issues. We talked about plastics, but then unfortunately, sometimes plastics still need to be used. So in this scenario, Sax's their boxes, while it's not super heavy, however, if you do use a paper hook, I think it will still break over time, and then it will become a huge problem. And so there are times when we still use plastic hooks, and the idea is how can we use a plastic hook that isn't excessive? It's not a giant piece of plastic. Can we use as little as possible? Another thing that I have noticed is that um, you should design the packaging for interaction. So this is for MEC's gloves, and this is the old gloves where you get into this handcuff position when you want to try them on. And what they had the issue was as people are trying them on, then during this process, because it's not easy to actually fit both of your hands in it, then it breaks. And so then eventually I updated it so that it's a fold out packaging and you can actually have a lot more range of motion. Um, and hopefully that prevents it from breaking as easily. So when I'm thinking about the products I'm designing for, I'm thinking about how would people interact with this on the floor? Would people want to actually try them on? Would people want to open it? If they will do that, then when I'm designing packaging, I'm also thinking about what happens if it is um, touched and played around with over time. Moving on to affordable types of packaging. Um, so I've mainly talked about like packaging where it's a bit more elaborate. There's a lot of boxes, there's a lot of folding, a lot of construction. What other types are there that we can use that doesn't cost as much? So the one on the left here, this is just a generic corrugated box with a sticker on it. Stickers are extremely cheap. This is a great way to elevate a very simple packaging. The only thing I would mention about this is that when it is this simple, the sticker design becomes very important. Um, you want it to be designed well because a sticker on corrugated cardboard, if the sticker isn't designed very well, then it becomes very cheap very quickly. And whereas if the sticker is designed well, it could elevate. This other one on the right here, I believe this is a core member person, Backseat Bivy. The form factor of it is just a drawstring bag. And one of the things that people will do for this packaging is they will want to open it. And so we decided not to box it into a box. And instead it's just a paper sleeve. And it's attached by Swift tack so it doesn't fall off. This is very cheap because it's just one-sided print wrapped around the bag, and uh, you can still interact with the product without breaking the packaging. So similarly, if you want to go one step further, you don't even want the sleeve because the sleeve is a pretty large piece of paper that's printed. Um, for MEC, when they launched their furniture, it's very similar form factor as Backseat Bivy, where they have the drawstring bag over it, and I think they just printed their MEC logo screen printed on the bag, and there's nothing else. And so um, we actually did a hang tag. Both of these, the ones with the raised face as well. On the back, you can see the full product description, and this is black and white. So this is the cheapest form of printing where there's no color involved. Uh, and I find that there are certain scenarios where you can use hang tags and they can be used um, very beautifully as well. Another type that similar to that is how do you use clever engineering to to still make everything work. So on the outside, this one looks extremely simple, but then um, on the bottom, you can see this is typically what a bike light would be packaged in. There is this plastic, and then it's actually much more expensive than just a single sheet of paper. This is a single sheet of cardboard, and this is pretty good in that the customer can try it on. They can see how bright this light would actually get. On the back, you can clearly see, oh, it includes a USB cable. And what was important is how can we make this all attached to this piece of cardboard without it falling apart over time. So we use some clever engineering to attach the bike light to the board, and then we use zip ties to tie everything together so nothing will fall out. This is also extremely cheap. It just takes some testing and some thinking. Okay, this is the last one before I move on to development. Um, Common mistakes that I see sometimes with people working in packaging who may not be a packaging designer. Um, the first one is they assume packaging is very easy to do. It is not as hard as product design, but it is not as easy as hitting print on a computer and everything just magically appears. There is a long process. Um, the only difference between packaging design and product design is packaging design is a one-time use product. So it does still take a lot of effort and a lot of thinking. So talking about time, I find out sometimes some clients think that, oh, a simple project can be done very quickly. But as I mentioned before, packaging design is product design. And so it will take quite a while to finish, usually 3 to 4 months. Um, and no matter how big or small, I have found that this typically is the amount of time that you would need. And then the last common mistake I find is people think that the design can go on seasons and seasons without changing. Um, Part of it is true. So maybe like for the bike light, the form factor, the card, that doesn't change. However, I found that next season they realize, oh, they have updated the specs on the light, and so you need to update the information that's printed on the packaging. This I see very, very often with all kinds of products, and so mm, I say don't expect uh, one single packaging can last you for a really long time because maybe next year um, something gets upgraded or you notice some sort of problem that you need to change the packaging for.
Hey, Andrew, I've got a question that came in from Robert Button. He wants to know for a heavy hardware product with electronic components, so like
hmm
10.5 pounds, what kind of foam or cardboard packaging material would you recommend? Does he need anti-static foam?
Did you say 4.5 pounds or 1.5?
10.5 was
Oh,
a
10.5.
heavy hardware product with electronic components, so like 10.5 pounds.
Okay, that is a little bit heavier. Not knowing what the product is, I would say if you can avoid styrofoam, I think that would be ideal. Um, a way that you could determine whether you are in the clear to use styrofoam is if you look at similar products at the similar price range with similar brand positioning, do they use styrofoam as well? If they do, um, maybe you'll be fine with it because, okay, if everybody else in this range does this, then you will not be penalized as much. However, if you do find that, okay, everybody else, or there's some competitors that are starting to use corrugated cardboard to re-engineer this entire packaging, then you may need to look into it. From a technical perspective, while I don't know what exactly this product is, I do know that corrugated part cardboard is able to actually withstand a lot of weight. Um, and depending on how big the product is, I would say my guess is that it is possible to get away with just corrugated cardboard as well.
Thanks for that, Andrew. I wanted to mention for questions like this, there's also a button to raise your hand. It's along the bottom of your menu options. And so you can raise your hand and I can unmute you and you can also ask your question. So for example, Andrew, when you just said, I don't know what the product is exactly, or if Robert, I don't know if you have anything you want to add or clarify, but definitely feel free to, type it into the Q&A or raise your Zoom hand and we can unmute you.
Jamie, did you say there were other questions similarly to this? Or
Nope, that's the only one, I
that's the
think.
only one? Okay. Uh, if there are, let me see if there are any other questions, anything that you would like to, something that I have talked about, you want me to elaborate further.
Oh, Robert's got a Zoom hand up, so I'm gonna unmute him.
Thank you for taking my question. So the just to give you some context, the product it's like a very niche product. We're a small company doing pretty low volumes, so we are on a budget. It's a portable rope ascender, so it's like kind of it's a little bit hard to describe, but it's a series of pulleys that pulls you up a rope for backcountry skiing. It's about it's got a battery in it, similar to what you would find in like an e-bike or electric skateboard, and so yeah, it's a portable rope tow. We sell it as basically a ski lift that fits in your backpack, uh,
Okay.
and yeah, right now we're selling directly to consumers, and we're shipping it out in kind of whatever foam and packaging material we can reuse from the shop that from all the stuff we get. And it's not the most kind of retail friendly, um, beautiful unboxing experience that we'd like it to be.
Yeah.
Um, so I was just wondering if you had any suggestions, and I think you've
Yeah.
been helpful so far. But yeah, that should give you
Yeah.
some context.
Um, maybe I'll ask a few more additional questions. What is, in terms of the price point, is this a premium product? Is this a affordable product?
It is a premium product. You're looking at about $2,400 Canadian for our
Okay.
kind of complete package. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Then I will say yes, you should try to avoid styrofoam. Unless everybody else in this industry at similar price point, they are not using styrofoam. Um, sorry, they are using styrofoam, then I would say maybe you'll be okay. Another thing, as I mentioned before, the branding. How are you marketing this product? Is it super technical? Is it, or does it lean more towards like lifestyle? Do you see your products getting sold at like Arc'teryx or MEC stores? That kind of thing. When you get into this type of spaces, then this consumer expectation is, oh, when I open this, why does it look like this? Uh, this is a few $1,000s. Is there value when I'm opening this? Does this packaging convey value to me as well? Yeah,
Great. Thank you.
I sell a cookware product, frying pans essentially,
yeah.
and I'm wondering how the product would influence the how it's packaged. In that, I'm not sure pe everyone wants people touching their cookware before they buy it, but obviously they're going to take it home and wash it. But I think it's also a thing that is tangible and they want to like feel the quality of it.
Yeah,
So like, where's the thought that like of like keeping it clean versus having it be tangible? If it's like a really like, I think cookware is a personal product, but
yeah. Is this a cookware that you use camping or is this at home?
it's camping cookware. But you can use it at home if you want. But yeah,
Okay.
it's marketed as camping cookware.
I find that camping cookware is very important that the person can tell right away how heavy is this thing.
Hmm.
Um, and so maybe you can cover the actual pan itself, but then the handle, it should be something that they can pick up with their hand. That's what I would say. If you can show the product as much as possible, I don't think it needs to be boxed up per se. I would say, is it a premium product or is it affordable?
It's more of a premium level product, and the um sorry, the value that my product has is that the handle is completely removable, so it's a completely separate piece from the pan, and so
Oh,
it would be packaged in
separately
like
as well.
essentially two or three pieces depending on the sets that someone would purchase it.
Okay, okay, I see.
Yeah.
Hmm, interesting. I would say from working with MEC,
Hmm.
the first point is what I mentioned before is that people want to know how heavy this thing is. Because I find that that's what a lot of the people will decide, oh, is this going to be too heavy for me to bring? And I would say if you are not, you could consider boxing it up as well. But I think there are three components. Then you need to make sure that the pan size is very clear. Can you use a window to show that? Because I'm just trying to imagine if I were to go to a store and I see a pan, let's say it's completely covered by a box. There is no window to show me how big this is. I can't really visualize, oh, what is the difference between a 12-inch size pan versus an 8-inch size pan and 10
Hmm.
inch? Can I use Windows to depict that very quickly so that, oh, let's say there are three different sizes. Then someone can tell right away, oh, is this too small? Is this too big? Um, the weight, can you also make sure that there is not excessive packaging so that you can tell right away the weight differences if there is a big weight difference. And then the handle, this is a tricky part to show by windows. I don't know how it works. But if I can show it through the window, I will try to do that as much as possible. If not, I will make sure the graphics, the print on the information is very clear, either on the front or the back, so that
How
people
the
know.
handle functions.
Yeah, how does it work?
Gotcha.
That is, how do I imagine these two pieces work together? The pen itself without a handle, with a handle. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate your insight.
Hi, thanks for taking my question. So this is similar to Brent's in that we have some like a modular product. It's a dog leash,
Mm,
and it's like all different pieces. Like there's a collar, there's a specific leash section that connects to that, but we may have different sizes of those available.
right.
Like say 2 feet, 5 feet. And then we've got a handle, which is separate. And then we have a little swiveling piece that's in between all those, which is also separate. And we may sell that separately as well. So with all these different modular pieces, and given that people will want to touch and feel these things, I was trying to think about this as I was listening to your presentation, and I don't know which way to go.
Mm.
Your thought?
Uh, can are these sold together or they're all separate pieces?
Well, we'll have uh bundles with everything together, and then we may want to sell certain pieces separately.
Okay. So for example, like the leash and the handle is paired together.
Yeah, or well, like the whole thing probably initially would be a whole bundle, which would have everything, and then
Oh,
then there may be a certain set that's like oh, you've got two dogs, so here is our two dog, connection point with two like leash lengths and and one handle,
Ah,
things like
okay.
that. So different sets, but also different individual pieces.
Mm.
They need to be sold.
I am not personally a pet owner, so while I do love cats, but I
Hmm.
don't. I have worked with a company here in Vancouver where I designed for them their light up leashes,
Okay.
but they're only one piece. Instead of yours is multiple pieces. It's kind of like a package that you can kind of add additional functions to it. The one thing I have learned from them, my experience was that it was very important that people actually can try it on with their pet. So
Mm,
they do have a lot of they are basically in all the retail pet retailers, and then all of their packaging they said they need to be able to. A lot of people will actually bring their pet into the store and try it on. And
right.
they said we need to make sure the redesign can accommodate that. And so one of the leashes is actually it was just on a header card, and you don't need to open it. And then so you can try it on their pet right away. Um, there were some more expensive items where it was in a box, but the box itself was not um, sealed. You can actually open it.
Hmm.
One other thing that I have also learned from them is on the front, it's very clear what size of a dog it fits to.
Right.
And then they said by the pound. But that is they said this is just a quick indicator for them to differentiate between this is a large and this is a small. But really
Mhm.
people will still want to try it on. Um, and so I don't know with your particular example, should it be boxed or should it not be boxed? I think it's a
Hmm.
little bit harder to tell. Um, yeah,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. That helpful. Thank you.
All right, I don't see any other Zoom hands at the moment. Andrew, if you want to continue into
Sure.
development questions.
So I'll get into the development side. A quick uh, kind of explainer about what development is. Design is the concepts that you come up with, and the development is when you work with a manufacturer to realize the concepts. Um, Another way to look at it is the engineering side. How do you engineer this concept into reality? So previously, I talked about how a common mistake that a lot of people make is thinking that development is design, the whole packaging design process is very quick. However, the one that actually takes the most time is the development phase. Um, this takes much longer than the design portion because a lot of times we are working with overseas manufacturers. You're waiting for them to respond. Um, so. What is involved in the development phase? This is something that I often would do in this time is, okay, let's say we have a sample coming in. I'm reviewing the packaging sample. I am telling them comments, taking pictures and making sure like, okay, whatever I say to them, it's concise, it's easy to understand. I'm telling them, okay, this easy tier, this is not ripping nicely. This bottom area, there shouldn't be a print. Can you fix this? This back and forth can take a really long time. They sometimes don't work at the same pace as you would like to. They have many other projects on the go. Maybe you're a smaller customer of theirs. They would accommodate their biggest customers first. So this is why sometimes it can take months. When should you consider overseas packaging? I would say if you are in the 3,000 range units and above, and you have time, then you can consider going overseas because the prices of packaging would be much cheaper. Um, the one thing you need to consider is how much time you have. So because the packaging will be shipped by the ocean, that can take 2 to 3 months sometimes. How much is packaging sample from the factory? This is a very easy one. Usually it's around 4 to 500 USD per set. They usually will give you more than one prototype for you to sample to test and review. And I have found that almost always you will need at least two sets of samples, like 2 rounds of sampling. So most of the time, the first round of sampling you receive, and then you see, oh, there are some issues. There are some things we need to fix. Maybe there's something that didn't work out. And that's when the second round of sampling comes through. Some of the things that the factory can help you with, they actually can help you with quite a bit. So they can help you with dialing updates, like dimension changes. Because they are the ones actually working on your sample, they have the correct material. You can ask them to make minor adjustments. So what I would usually do is I would send them the dialing file. That's dimension and everything. It's designed. And then I will tell them, please adjust accordingly to what the final outcome should be. And they can help you with that. Another thing is they can also help you with some simple fixes. So let's say the first sample you receive, you realize there is actually a problem with the design. It's not a major issue, but then something is going on. For example, oh, the tear strip is not ripping as well from the die line that you have sent them. You can ask them, can you make suggestion on how to fix this so that the tear strip actually works? Um, Another thing is many manufacturers for products actually will also do packaging. Maybe not themselves, but they have contacts that I can kind of bundle it in together. So you don't need to find your own factory to do packaging. And I think this is the last one. Best practices when communicating with overseas manufacturers. The first one I would say is to use a video. So when you send them the files of your artwork, your die lines, what I will usually do is also send them a video of how the packaging should work altogether. I have a video here that you can kind of see. So I will make a handmade prototype very rough, and then so they can see, oh, how does it actually look once it's all assembled. You will also find that a lot of the times they also send you videos before they ship you the sample, so that in case something is not correct, you can catch it right away. Let me see what other ones. So use videos. The other one is when you are talking to them, when you are, let's say you want to get your first sample, be very clear on what kind of sample you expect. I have found that through various times, different factories, they all have kind of different expectation of how finished a sample should be. And so I usually will tell them, okay, I need this sample because I'm giving a presentation. Then they understand, oh, this is not a proof of concept. This is for pitching for presentation purposes. Then they'll make sure everything is kind of printed properly. I have received samples where, yes, all the prints are correct. However, the way that the prints were attached to the packaging just was not finished very well. So make sure you communicate what kind of expectations you have for the sample. And then the next one, just a very like more admin related, is be mindful of their Chinese New Year 1 month long holiday. This usually happens at the end of January, early February, where the entire factory shuts down. And this is an interesting time because we are just ending our Christmas holiday and then we're back to work. And then immediately it's their turn. So sometimes there could be this 2 month stall of nothing happening. So be mindful of that if you are pressed for time or if you are anywhere in that period. Um, yeah, this is kind of the questions that I have encountered with from development. Let me know if you have any other questions. Otherwise, this is the end of what I have prepared for.
Thanks, Andrew. I've got a couple of questions coming in from the Q&A panel. So from Josiah, how do you communicate the value of packaging design to the companies looking to hire you? Are you able to show or find metrics of before and after packaging changes?
This is something that I have thought about, but I actually haven't really had to show this as much. I find that in packaging design for the companies that understand that they know that it is important. So a lot of the clients that I work for, they know the importance of packaging design. I would say most clients should understand it. I haven't really had to. I would say an example would be how packaging design can offer, maybe I can answer it this way. How packaging design can elevate a product even further was there was one time I was working with a client of mine. They wanted to, along with a lot of their other products, they wanted to launch a small accessories. It was a comb for clearing out the lint on your clothing. And it was, I think they wanted to sell it for $10. But then they wanted good packaging. And so originally they were thinking it's $10, just put a sleeve around it. And this is a client that wants good design. So then they're like, okay, have one concept that's just a sleeve, and then the second one is do what you think is best. So I came up with a little box for this comb. And when they saw it, they immediately said, "Oh my gosh, we can sell this for $20 if we use this box instead." Um, and so I would say to maybe change up the question a little bit is packaging design can bring value sometimes to the products and in unexpected ways sometimes. And whereas if you're just talking about like, oh, how do you convince somebody the importance of packaging design? I personally haven't really had any issues to try to convince people that packaging design is important. I think both businesses know that it is vital to their business.
Great. I've got another question from Patrick, who's wondering, do you find packaging suppliers prefer to work in Pantone colors, or are CMYK typically sufficient for printed work?
Uh, Both is fine. If you want color matching, then use Pantone. Um, if not, CMYK is totally fine. A lot of my projects, especially the smaller clients that they don't want to use Pantone, they would use CMYK because that means less plates, less colors.
So I think that concludes it. Thank you, Andrew.
Right?
Thank you all. We will be back again with the Core Outdoor Speaker Series webinar in June. It's the 23rd for June, and I believe that's a Tuesday. We'll have Dana Carpenter and Trevor Young. They're the mechanical engineers who run the Outside Lab, which is a new gear performance testing facility in Denver, Colorado. The lab is a collaboration between the university and a corporation, in this case, Outside Inc., which is probably best known as the publisher of Outside Magazine. And it's open to the public. In fact, they're actively soliciting more industry partners like Core members for testing both of gear and materials. So stay tuned to Core's social media channels for details and registration info for that one, or sign up for the e-newsletter on Core's website so you never miss a thing. All right, I'm signing us off. Thanks, and until next time. Bye-bye.